You know what Sony had? The Holy Trinity. Leo, Brad, and Marco. Who do you have?
This week, we're joined by Flop Culture host FionnualaJay to discuss Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon in a TV show. Yes, we're discussing The Morning Show. This is Boy Party. Hello, and welcome to Boy Party, the podcast about TV shows where two major stars share the screen and battle it out for screen time, top billing, the fatter paycheck, and the most acclaim. My name is FionnualaJay. And this week, we're talking about television. Yes, Apple TV's The Morning Show, starring Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. I'm joined, as always, by the rural version of me who's come and working alongside me, trying to report the news, but sometimes we're in the same room, sometimes we're not. It's Shane Kelly. And on the show for the first time, host of the Flop Culture podcast, FionnualaJay is here. Fionnuala, welcome to Boy Party. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. You are the host of Flop Culture, a fantastic podcast that we recently went on to discuss Madame Web. Do you want to give people a quick rundown of what Flop Culture is all about?
Flop Culture started off as one thing and kind of has just become its own horrible mutant other podcast, where it was basically kind of where I would ask people to come on to talk about their favourite flops. And now, since the parameters for what a flop is have become very broad. So initially you think flop, you think, oh, Waterworld, which we actually haven't done. I always use that as an example, and we've literally never done it, and we probably should. Movies that flopped to the box office, albums that were critically panned but are beloved by my guest. The parameters are broad. You know what I mean? If you want to come and talk about something and have an argument as to why it flopped and maybe should have been more beloved, then you are welcome in Flop Culture Towers. Very good. And you have a Patreon and you do a lot of like TV show watch along type stuff, but a show that you have not really covered ever on your feed is The Morning Show. Now, this is a big, expensive show with two big female stars. I feel like it is kind of pitched straight down the middle at your podcast's listeners. So how come you've never really waded into Morning Show territory? Because I have watched bits and pieces for work previously. For my job, you will have to watch like lots of TV. You might not get to finish things. You know what I mean? And usually you want to prioritize generally things that are like good. And any of the bits that I've watched The Morning Show, I said, you know what? It's not for me, girls. Even though I'm a big, I don't know what the Witherspoon stands are called, but I
Spooners.
Would kind of consider myself one of them. I think it was trying to do something the first season, and my understanding of where the show has gone, it has just become similar to Flop Culture, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud. It has become this ugly, mutinous, strange thing that I'm not sure I can really get on board with, even though, again, really good cast. Yeah. Really expensive, as you said, like so obviously expensive looking. I'm just like... Great question. I don't know. I'd rather stay in Gilmore Girls land and just started the OC. So nice. I'm staying in Newport Beach and I'm not fucking leaving.
I wonder if your relationship with it is representative of a lot of people's, where like it constantly gets renewed. There's new seasons every 2 years. They've got on quite a tight biannual schedule where every second autumn it comes back, which I've gotten very comfortable with. But I feel like there's just a lot of people in my life who are like, I know that's a thing, but I'm not watching it. And I wonder if Apple just doesn't care because they're too embarrassed to let it die.
And as long as it's raking in the Emmys,
it does get just enough Emmy nominations to justify keep making it.
There probably is.
But it must still have like huge viewership. Yeah. Because why
might,
would they otherwise?
But I wonder if it had okay viewership and it got 2 or 3 Emmy nominations every season, would Apple still keep it going just because it would be so embarrassing to let it die? And they do theoretically have infinite money over there. So like you're better off spending money on The Morning Show to stay in the Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon business than paying for 5 smaller shows that with people that they don't
That's
really
the thing. Having Aniston and Witherspoon on the books means that it might still be getting plenty of views or plenty of eyeballs in 10 years from now.
Yes, it might live longer.
Their star power will kind of outlive the show itself, and it will be something in 10 years you can flash up on your homepage. It's like, have you seen this? And it's The Morning Show, and people might go back and watch.
The way that there are random shows from 10 years ago that people discover, whether it's a Designated Survivor or whatever.
There's always people going back watching Breaking Bad.
But was Designated Survivor not good?
No.
It's actually quite similar to this in its
yes, it's very much like
it's okay. You have insane thing happens in one episode, and then it just continues to escalate episode by episode to the point where it gets completely ridiculous, and each episode kind of stops referencing the previous one. So like it opens with the Capitol being bombed and everyone in Congress and the Senate dying,
And the president. They all
and
get
the president
killed.
apart from one guy. But then they have to continually try and up the stakes throughout the season. I only watched the first season.
Yeah, the morning show's kind of like that, where every season they'll introduce some world-shattering event, often a real-world event, and then they'll have to like tone down the stakes for 6 or 7 episodes to kind of bide their time until they can do something else explosive.
And there's also 7 or 8 characters that they need to give storylines. So there's kind of 4 stories in each episode. And
yeah, we'll run through some of the
It's
characters
real.
in a minute, but this show is so crowded and has gotten more crowded as the seasons have gone on. But
that's kind of the appeal of it at this point.
Yeah.
I can watch it while I'm making dinner and just check in on.
this is true.
It's like a soap.
There's a lot going on.
There is.
Like there really is a lot going on.
It premiered on the day that Apple TV Plus was launched in 2019. This was their big first show straight out the gate, and it was hugely covered in the media at the time as a result. And it was initially based on this book called Top of the Morning, I think, which is a like nonfiction book about the real life morning show rivalries that exist in New York. And it was meant to be a show about 2 rival morning shows hosted by the Jennifer Aniston character and the Reese Witherspoon character. And then the Me Too thing happened, and Matt Lauer became one of the big pariahs of that movement, and he was the morning show host, and he had Savannah Guthrie as his female co-host. And I think the real life situation resembled these characters a little bit too much, that they had to completely rethink the morning show as inspired by this real life situation. So the first season ends up becoming a Steve Carell like kind of cancel culture thing that affects these 2 female characters. And I don't know if that's what they wanted the show to be, but that's what it was. And it took a while for it to kind of get out of that space. And spoiler alert, the Steve Carell character getting killed off, in order for them to move past that and for it to become like the 2 girls are at it, which is kind of what it is now, but in weird and awkward ways. So you, I believe, checked out the start of season 4, which is just begun a few weeks ago and is currently up to episode 7. And the first episode of season 4, I think, is very good microcosm of a lot of the good and bad of this show, because it is a crazy hour of TV. What were your thoughts?
I mean, athletes defecting in the middle of interviews, being assisted by Jennifer Aniston's Alex. Wow, incredible. I was, again, like, what am I actually watching? Because this is the thing, right? I think I get why they wanted to make this show. I think there is something, like, interesting in media. And then I don't know if I just feel like that because I work in media. Like, I think there's something in it. And even some of the themes, even though they've been like so heavy-handed with everything, like the Me Too cancel culture stuff, there's something in it, and they've just managed to do it kind of wrong, but not wrong enough that it's like really detrimental to anyone or whatever, but like every single time. And then it's just, they come out with an episode like this where it's like, okay, new CEO Greta Lee is in position. Don't remember her character's name. Love you, Greta. I think you've been relinquished from this show now.
She has,
Maybe spoiler
as of
alert for
last
what's
week,
to come,
yeah.
but bye, girl. You're free.
caught up.
AI got her
like
ass.
she's
Oh no.
like CEO, girl boss, shagging the owner's husband. Again, jumping ahead here in the episode, Alex taking like political turmoil into her own hands. Reese is back for some reason. It's just, I was Billy Crudup walking around talking to people, being absolutely insane. It's been funny because like anything that I've ingested of this show since has been like podcast recaps, and I feel like I have such a like having not really watched a second past what I've watched, maybe in total 5 episodes across these 4 seasons, not including this one that I've watched in full. I feel like I actually know exactly everything that's going on. And then you watch it and it's like, oh, I still get what's going on. And then they have all of this other window dressing nonsense that is just like, why are you doing this? This could have been good.
It really is. It really is a show to be recapped.
Yes.
It's
really
built
fun
for
to
that.
tell people about.
Yeah.
It is. And like they never know what to do with Reese Witherspoon's character. Every season she's back in the South and they have to lure her back to New York, and it's the same shit every season. Last season, the first episode had her going up to space with John Hamm and floating around in a space station. And then midway through the season, it was revealed through flashbacks that she took part in the January 6th insurrection. And then the second half of that season was her trying to cover up her involvement in the January 6th insurrection while her mentally ill younger brother was like being put on trial for his involvement in it and all of this.
Like, totally, this seems to run, in my head anyway, it runs parallel to something like 911.
Okay.
It feels like it's the same, where it's just
Clips on TikTok. Like,
clips on TikTok,
look what they did this
ridiculous
week.
stakes. Yeah, the bees.
Yes. But the show is way more interested in the Jennifer Aniston character, and it's definitely interested in the Billy Crudup character, Corey, who I love. And I love any scene where Billy Crudup's just walking around being sleazy. And when this season starts, it's like something out of the Seth Rogen show, The Studio, and you're like, yes, I like this. But then he goes back
It's
to...
so studio
coded.
coded.
But then he goes back to New York, and it's back to all of just this corporate scheming that's not quite as good as Succession, and it's not quite as good as other stuff. And Reese Witherspoon always gets left behind, which is wild because she is nominally one of the two leads of the show, and they are both paid, at least when season 1 was happening, $2 million an episode, which I think is like...
But she is giving, if this episode is anything to go by for everything else that I have not seen, that girlie is turning up. And again, Witherspoon said with love, love you, sweet Alabama, my problematic fave. She is turning up and giving maybe 35% across from Jennifer Aniston as Alex. When they meet at that, Bradley's back in the fold and they're meeting up and there's like this real tension, whatever. Like I've never seen something, I have seen something more phoned in, but like it's very phoned in.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I'm just like, what's going on? When Jennifer Aniston is like doing... good is too much of a stretch, but like doing her best with what she has, embodying that character of being the executive, of being like, I've got all the power, now what? Actually don't know if it's what I want.
Yeah.
It's really fucking irritating. I still have to answer to all these people and do when I shouldn't, and now I'm back competing with girly pop again. And we're both blonde because she couldn't be brunette anymore.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She was brunette
like,
when the show started, and she had a thick Southern accent that she proceeded to drop.
Yeah.
It does feel like Jennifer Aniston is trying to prove something with this. She's taking it seriously.
Yeah.
This is an important part to her, whether it's that she thinks this is her opportunity to prove herself as an actress, or she thinks that TV needs a strong female boss character like this. Whereas Reese Witherspoon does like 2 or 3 TV shows a year now. She's kind of been in this game for about a decade, and Big Little Lies is kind of the one where she gets to shine, and this is sort of a second thought for her.
But I don't really know where the gaps are for her in kind of the scripting of this for her to improve, I guess. Like the main...
Well, that's the thing. She has very little to work with by comparison to the rest of them, I think. Even with this, where it's just explained away that she's back in the fold. Oh, you're under house arrest. It's grand. It never got out in the
They
press.
needed to make
Don't
her
worry.
a proper
And I'm sure those
villain
things do happen, but
she needed to be made a real bad guy early on in the show. Should have kept the Southern accent, had her be have a very strong like coastal elites versus middle America divide between Aniston and her, and have her represent the sort of like Republican-y kind of other side of American media, which they haven't done.
Has this show ever pivoted into making her get into politics? I missed like 2 seasons in the middle of this.
No, they haven't. But
she should convert and
They
run
should
for,
do that,
she should
though.
run-
Oh my God.
But
She should run for president.
Alex Levy at the end of season 2 gets COVID, and there's a fantastic episode where she goes on live TV from her house with COVID, like coughing and sneezing, and her face is all red, and she's like, "America, you have to listen. This is the pandemic," and she's very presidential in that moment. It's her network Howard Beale rant moment, and it's beautiful. But they have introduced a right-wing media foil this season, which is this sort of Joe Rogan-inspired character whose name is Bro. What's the character's full name?
it's so insane that they were literally just like, yeah, bro, that's fine.
His name is Bro.
That's fine.
And
Again, when you're recapping and when you're clipping, you don't need any context because you know his name is Bro, and you're like, got it.
he suddenly rocks up.
Literally, I just searched in bro podcaster and it was like the morning show is like the 4th.
Fantastic.
Google. So I'll tell you everything.
No, it's played by actor whose name is currently escaping me, but Boyd Holbrook.
Yes.
And he is a thorn in Jennifer Aniston's side. She's running the network now. She's not really on. She's kind of in this Oprah position where she's like sometimes doing interviews on TV, but she's not hosting the Daily Show, and she's doing more like executive-y bits backstage. I was quick fun name drop story was standing in a hallway 2 weeks ago with Miriam O'Callaghan and Louis Theroux, and I asked Miriam O'Callaghan because I'm trying to make small talk. I was like, Miriam, do you watch the morning show with Jennifer Aniston? And she was like, I do, and I was like, because it kind of reminds me of you, and I'd say what your life is like. And she was like, ha ha ha. And it only clicked with me that Louis Theroux was once Jennifer Aniston's
Brother-in-law?
cousin-in-law when she was married to Justin Theroux. So that's a fun morning show connection there. But anyway, that's my story. But this
sliding doors.
Yeah, this
could have been.
Exactly. This bro character is now midway through season 4 is being set up to co-host the Olympics coverage, which is this whole other thing where the network has the Olympics, the real life last year Olympics, and they're trying to introduce their new AI through the Olympics promotion. This show is just trying to have its cake and eat it too, and have 4 or 5 topical current things from the past 18 months at any one time going on, and it gets very, very, very muddled. And when you have John Hamm as the Elon Musk type and you have Bro as the Joe Rogan type, it's such a mess.
I mean, you kind of
they won't do the most topical thing of all, which was the fucking presidential election in which Donald Trump was elected again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just talking about having its cake and eating it too. I'm
it's
just
scared to get
like
too
they're kind of feigning taking positions. But then they
do they reference Trump as president in this, or is there just a president?
So I think Trump is referenced because COVID happens and the Olympic. I think everything happening in this show is within the context of real modern American life.
Like the news cycle moves so quickly now that like between your 2-year seasons, you kind of have to get everything out because it might be gone in 2 years.
Yeah,
AI might be gone in 2 years.
Like imagine if they were trying to do the January 6th stuff now.
Yeah, impossible.
You'd be like, what are they up to? But anyway. Jennifer Aniston is an interesting movie / TV star that we've never talked about on this podcast, and I'd like to talk about her for a few minutes. She's kind of she is objectively the most successful of the 6 friends in her post-Friends career, I think. But with that said, she's never, I think, really cemented herself as a movie star as much as just been the biggest TV star in the world for quite a while. And the weird thing is, she didn't do any TV shows between Friends and The Morning Show. So this was like 15 years since Friends ended. She came back to TV.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if the show has done a whole lot in the last 6 or 7 years to like make her want to go back to movies or whatever. Like she's now in talks to do this Jeanette McCurdy. Are they shooting this Jeanette McCurdy show soon? I assume they are.
Why do I feel like I'd heard something that was
they
on
paused it?
Oh, that's TV. I thought it was film.
The director pulled out. Okay. Jason Reitman was meant to direct it and he pulled out and they were looking for someone else. But I saw a quote last week, I think, of Jennifer Aniston, or Sharon Horgan, I think, was actually on Louis Theroux's podcast and was talking about working with Jeanette McCurdy because she's executive producing it. I think it is happening. I kind of would prefer.
Sorry, yes. From Variety this week. Jennifer Aniston, Jeanette McCurdy, who obviously wrote I'm Glad My Mom Died, bonded over very similar moms before I'm Glad My Mom Died shoot. We have a lot in common.
Okay, great. So that's a good signal there that Apple are in the Jennifer Aniston business long term. But I think that could be a great Jennifer Aniston role and performance to play Jeanette McCurdy mom.
I'm excited for that. Like, I think there's a lot of potential there because she's never. I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, when you think of movies, it's like, yes, commercially, she's been like pretty successful and has been the most successful out of that group. But when you think of the filmography, it's what do I think of immediately? I think of The Breakup with Vince Vaughn, which I think you should be doing on Boy Party.
We may.
Like tomorrow, like immediately.
Well, the funny thing is we did
the Good Girl.
The Good Girl.
Like,
the one time we talked about Vince Vaughn on this podcast was in 4 Christmases with Reese Witherspoon. So these women have overlapped with their male co-stars.
Actually, I totally forgot.
The Good Girl is an interesting one because it is kind of the best. It might be the best Jennifer Aniston vehicle where the male co-star romantic lead isn't part of the marketing. It's just her face on the poster, and I think she's really good in that.
She is really good, and it's a really good dramatic performance. But then I'm wondering, like, could this be her? This is maybe a bit of a lazy comparison, but like Patricia Arquette with The Act. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like,
for sure.
But I don't know if that's me wanting that for her, or actually believing that she could do. Like, it's really hard when you look at something like The Morning Show because it's like you are delivering. But like, is it the material or is it you and the material? You know what I mean?
The problem is this character also resembles herself a little bit too much. And I think she does need to push herself, at least in I'm Glad My Mom Died. She's going to be playing, I suppose, like kind of quote unquote white trash, kind of working class Hollywood mom. Whereas
sociopathic.
Yeah, which is what she's done in stuff like We're the Millers or whatever quite well comedically. But when she's playing the like well-dressed, wealthy New York elite entertainment industry woman, that's just kind of, you know, autobiographical to a certain extent. But there's a whole run in the 2000s where she's in huge hit comedies with the biggest male stars of the time. Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty, Ben Stiller, Along Came Polly. Vince Vaughn, who did she have an affair with Vince Vaughn of some kind while they were making the breakup?
I think they were. There was a bit of
something happened.
There was a bit of smooching at some point.
She never made any movie with Brad Pitt, right? When they were together, which is nuts.
No, but he was in Friends, right?
He is in Friends. Yes.
Yeah.
Who does he play in Friends? Is he a boyfriend or a brother?
Yeah, he's like a... Finally, you'd know better than I would, I think. I'm not a friend.
Oh, God. He is like an annoying boyfriend, I think.
Does she have a brother on Friends? Is Paul Rudd's not her brother? He's someone...
In Friends.
In Friends.
No.
I don't know.
Or in Friends or in general?
In Friends.
Not in general and not in Friends. Sorry, Brad Pitt played Will Colbert, who was Ross Geller's high school friend.
Right,
and he turns up at... Oh, yeah. He revealed to have created an I Hate Rachel Green club in high school. So that was the whole thing, because it was like, gas, your husband's here. He's playing a character, but he fucking hates your character.
That's very good.
Like, it was a bit of that.
I'm sure that was, exactly the vibe. The
comedy gold.
What was I going to say? But the interesting thing with Courtney Cox going back to TV like 5 years after Friends to do Cougar Town is that's a route that Jennifer Aniston could have pursued at that moment if the movies weren't going as well as they were. And like the year Cougar Town starts, Jennifer Aniston has just had Marley and Me, which is probably one of the highest grossing films she's ever been in. Marley and Me was a massive, massive hit. And like, I think when people think of Marley and Me, you don't really think of Jennifer Aniston as like the main core of that. It's like Owen Wilson,
the dog.
The dog. Like Owen Wilson being sentimental.
Oh my God, imagine being third billed to a dog.
I know.
That's
it's tragic.
Right.
Like a lot of that movie is Owen Wilson being like, oh, Marley, you're my dog. And like Jennifer Aniston's just kind of floating around, causing stress, being the mom, like, which is a really unfair use of her, who is such a good comedic force. Like, but I wonder if the movies weren't going well up to that point, she could have ended up in Cougar Town. Like, she could be doing a NBC sitcom for 7 seasons like Courtney Cox did and have been making loads of money and be very successful, married a member of Snow Patrol. It would have all gone great. But her kind of continued attempt at the movie thing for a couple more years produces stuff like The Bounty Hunter, which I haven't seen because it looks dreadful. Love Happens, The Switch, Just Go With It, which I really quite enjoy. I think her and Adam Sandler are a fun pair, and I think the murder mystery movies have proven that they like working together.
Yeah, they murder mystery films work entirely on the two of them being pretty charming on screen. Like, there's not a whole lot else going on.
One of her most probably slightly out of character roles is in Horrible Bosses, where she is a role I don't particularly enjoy, which is what if your female boss was sexually harassing you? Wouldn't that be gas? And it's her as the dentist with Charlie Day.
Charlie Day, yeah,
is her hygienist, and like
I do love Horrible Bosses though. It's
another very watchable.
Colin Farrell being insane.
Yeah, no, Colin Farrell is having a great time in Horrible Bosses. Unfortunately, the combined forces of Spacey and Farrell and her has a lot of sicko appeal for me.
Wait, actually, I forgot Kevin Spacey's the other one. Never mind. Forgot what I said.
The double problematic fit.
Scratch that.
We're the Millers is the most Facebook movie ever made. People on Facebook love posting AI. Well, now it's AI generated. It used to be poorly photoshopped We're the Millers 2 posters would end up in every single movie themed Facebook group I was ever in. That is like a very, very beloved film with like the over 40 Facebook crowd, and I don't know why.
If they put out
I actually have never seen it, shockingly, but I know it from being referenced online, because isn't there something about, doesn't a guy get a tattoo in it the tattoo is misspelled?
Yeah, that sounds like something that would happen every 5 minutes.
What a terrible reference, because I don't know it exactly. I'll Google it while we're talking. I've heard she's good in it.
She is good in it. She's playing this like a kind of a scumbag, like, you know, trickster, manipulator, I guess, like con woman of some kind. It's sort of a Melissa McCarthy role that was kind of probably redirected towards Jennifer Aniston at some point, which she is quite good in. I won a prize pack of We're the Millers merch from, I'm gonna say, the Owen McDermott hosted RTE movie show in 2013.
Whoa.
And I received in the mail a We're the Millers t-shirt size XXL, which was too large for my 14-year-old frame. And so my dad wore that t-shirt for years around the house, and We're the Millers was being advertised in our home for the length of the 2010s.
Well, you know me, I love sustainable fashion.
There
so
you go, exactly.
The tattoo was No Regrets. That came up a lot,
good.
but it's spelled obviously as in rag.
Right,
yeah,
very good.
So
she had the tiniest bit of Oscar buzz in 2014 for a movie that I watched last week called Cake, which is a dreadful film in which she plays a woman with chronic pain who is in a chronic pain support group, and her friend from the support group is Anna Kendrick, and she has recently committed suicide, and Jennifer Aniston is now dealing with the trauma of that and also her pain and her addiction to painkillers. And this is the epitome of what Shane and I refer to on this podcast as a pills performance, where an actor or actress spends most of a movie going, I need my pills, where are my pills, I have pain. And there's a scene where she walks out in the middle of a freeway in front of cars while I think Chris Messina is shouting at her to stop. Sam Worthington is in it. It is dreadful, and she is so bad in it, and it is really pushing her as an actress in ways she's just not able for, where she's being forced to do this super OTT like addict performance that I just don't think is in her wheelhouse.
Does she take pills in the morning show at any point?
No, I don't think she takes pills in the morning show. I feel like the morning show,
not yet.
Not yet.
There's time.
There's going to be a season of the morning show based around pills. I know.
Yeah,
but
there has to be.
For the moment, I think no. I think her character's pretty clean and sober. Maybe season 2 when she's got COVID, she might get into some sort of
Sudafed.
medication abuse and stuff.
She didn't get an Oscar nomination for Fake, did she?
But she the common I think agreement was that she probably came 6th or 7th that year. Like she was definitely campaigning. She was doing the actors on actors and the roundtables and stuff. And I think it's a pity because it would have been nice to have someone we all know and love like Jennifer Aniston at the Oscars. But at the same time, if you do a movie like Cake, which is so obviously just looking for that type of attention, I don't think you should be rewarded for it if the movie is
Have
bad.
any of her husbands ever been nominated while she's been married to them?
Have any of her husbands been nominated when she's married to them? I don't really know. I can't.
So maybe she's been to the Oscars.
Yeah, maybe she's been to the Oscars. I don't know Brad Pitt's the timeline of their relationship. But Vince Vaughn's not quite Oscar material.
Brad Pitt has definitely been nominated, but I think that was outside of the window of their marriage.
He won an Oscar the year that the morning show started. So that's where they were in their careers in 2019, 2020. There's ensemble films she's in, like Mother's Day, and she's just not that into you. He's just not that into you, which I don't think she is super registers in. I think if you're only...
We've covered He's Just Not That Into You on Flop Culture.
I watched it at the weekend. I thought it was quite bad.
Yeah, it's quite bad.
It also misleads you with a poster that promises you Jennifer Aniston and Drew Barrymore, and then the movie ends up being largely about Jennifer Goodwin. Jennifer, spelt the wrong way.
And Justin Long.
Yeah, and Justin
Very
Long.
strange.
People I don't want to necessarily spend time with when I've been promised Ben Affleck and Jennifer Aniston. Now, she's got good chemistry with Ben Affleck in the 10 minutes of that film.
Oh, by God,
But
she
they
does.
need to do something proper together. It's crazy they've never been in something together since. Like, surely, I don't know. But maybe they had some weird thing at the time and don't want to be in the same room. It's hard to know with her. But the last film she was in that was released in a cinema was in 2016, The Office Christmas Party. That's 9 years ago. That's insane. So she's literally just a TV actress now.
That is insane.
She's just doing TV show, and in between
films.
she's doing streaming films like Murder Mystery, and The Friends reunion was on HBO, and that's it. That's like her career now.
Didn't she do? Have you guys ever seen Dumpling?
No, I have.
Apostrophe?
I'm aware of it.
It was like one of the. It's like follows a pageant child, but like not a quote unquote typical looking pageant child. As far as I'm aware, this is all. I remember it being like, again, buzzy because this is the early days of Netflix, and it was like, we got Jennifer Aniston. She's back on telly, and it's a bit serious.
This sounds very
about,
similar to the Glad My Mom Died role. Is she playing like...
Yeah, which is when we were talking about it, I was like, I'll wait and see if they bring it up, and then if not, I will bring it up because I have not seen it. But I feel like there was chatter. I don't know if it was the chat around simply her being cast or her performance. So
that's interesting.
What are the boy party listeners called? Maybe we can call on them.
The attendees.
The
attendees, the boy partiers.
Partiers, huh?
The boys and girls.
Yeah, we're just the boys and girls.
The boys and girls
Boys and
is
girls.
nice. We need to be inclusive.
Well, can the boys and girls let me know if she's actually any good in Dumpling? They've been kind to think no, because I would have heard
if
about it.
I remembered it existed, I would have watched it before this recording, but alas. Do you have a sense of what her and Reese Witherspoon's relationship is like off screen, or are we kind of just going off random social media chatter with that?
I'm firmly going off random social media chatter because it's obviously more fun.
Yes.
But I do also think that like their limited screen time as the show has gone on would kind of lead you to believe that ideally they don't really, in an ideal world, they wouldn't work super closely with each other if they don't have to, which is crazy when the morning show, as we've already established, was positioned as two girlies against each other, sometimes with each other. It's two girls in a man's world. You know what I mean? Like and that's maybe kind of what has been its downfall as well. Like the show would be much stronger if they were And I'm not saying they have to be acting against each other all the time, or like that they have to be like busy mates on or off the show, but it does just make it a bit fractured, I suppose.
They get one big scene together, I feel like, at the start of every season where they're in the same room, and then they don't see each other again until like episode 9 or 10. And like, it's weird because the poster every season is the two of them standing on some street in New York, and you're like, oh yes, my favorite two actresses working together. And then you watch the actual show and it's like, there is basically two shows in one here, if not more, about these different people on different paths doing different things. You're not really getting what you're promised in terms of the crossover between the two. But I also think there's an element of it where, like, when they're in scenes together, they both must have such complicated contractual shit about how they're lit, about the facial smoothing that's going on, the de-aging, all the weird VFX being done. I think maybe more so on Aniston, hard to say, that like it must be a nightmare as a director or as a VFX person to like light the two of them in the same scene when they want to be seen in such specific ways. But I feel like when when Reese Witherspoon is in scenes with Nicole Kidman in Big Little Lies, you don't feel that way. I feel like they're just kind of happy to hang out and look the same and be in the same shot. I don't know.
It's interesting to hear Reese talk about Nicole. Like, it's clear that they're friends, and she does a really good impersonation of Nicole Kidman. I don't know if you've heard her do it. Like, it's very funny. You should look it up after this. It's very good. About like Nicole just ringing her up about wanting to like go get pints, whatever. It's very good. You definitely don't get that with this, and I would agree as well for a show that's clearly expensive, because we already know that it is expensive, like factually. But a show that looks as expensive as it is can also look so deeply strange, like very uncanny valley in parts. It's bonkers Lula, to be honest.
And there's been shows in the last few years set in New York office buildings where it feels like a real lived in space. Like Succession, the best example, where you're like, oh yes,
those windows look real.
Those windows are real. The reflection looks real. And this, it's like a set that's in someone's house. Like somebody phoned this in. Somebody did this in the background. Like some of the stuff outside in season 4, episode 1 with Billy Crudup walking around is actually the best looking stuff on the show.
Like, is this entirely shot in LA? I'd imagine so.
I assume so. Yeah. I can't imagine. I'm like, but you know what? They go out on the streets in New York quite a bit. There's a scene there's a fake Extinction Rebellion group in this season called, I don't know, what's it called?
Extinction Revolt. And there's a big protest where they're throwing oil and stuff, and Jennifer Aniston gets caught up in the middle of it. And they do spend the money to go out and shoot scenes with like 200 extras, like it's a fucking Christopher Nolan movie. And you're like, for to what end? Like, to what end? It gives it a bit of scale.
It does. I mean, it makes me excited when I see it.
If you're going to have that much money to spend on your TV show, you might as well.
Oh, for sure. And like, they put out the trailer for season 4, and I'm sitting there watching it like, this is going to be so good. You get little flashes of Jeremy Irons as Jennifer Aniston's dad, and you have Marion Cotillard is the other new addition this season. Oscar winner playing like random co-CFO woman in the company, like. She's just kind of hanging around.
She's kind of the new top dog in there.
Yeah, she's just sitting in meetings with Greta Lee, not really registering, and then Greta Lee is having an affair with her husband, which, spoiler, gets exposed by an AI in episode 6. But like, they're kind of wasting some of those talents. Whereas like Billy Crudup has won, I think, 2 Emmys for this show. I think he's incredible on it. Yes. He's got so much energy and is playing such a crazy, high energy, like kind of coked up to his eyes just on his own self-confidence.
He feels a little bit detached from everything else that's going on. Like, he's kind of aware of what he's working in. I don't know.
I think so.
Maybe he's just operating on a higher level.
Yeah,
but it's a pity that a show that's based on female star power would end up with like a male character probably being the standout written character of the show.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like I loved and I hated any of the Billy Crudup stuff because it does feel so separate to everything else, and like he's on another level than to everyone else, and you just kind of don't want to be reminded of that, even though you are having like fun as he's like whirling around trying to get his stuff over the line. It's
I think there was a scene in the last season where Billy Crudup is in a sauna, and it just kind of looks at him for like 2 or 3 minutes, and you pointed out that they just really like looking at Billy Crudup, the directors and the creators.
They just love his face. They think he's really handsome, and you know what? I wholeheartedly agree.
We're going to put sweaty Billy on screen for 3 minutes.
It has a little.
Why do you think Marion Cotillard did this?
A big paycheck landed in her inbox, and she went, "Ooh, yes, please." A month in LA. I don't think Marion Cotillard is necessarily getting the number of like major Hollywood projects she used to be these days. So I think her representation probably told her, "Hey, it's probably time you reminded American audiences that you exist and you're very famous." And In fairness to her, she looks incredible on this show. I mean, she hasn't aged a day since she won her Oscar 20 years ago. And the way this show is like hyper stylized in terms of like the costumes and the sets, I think really suits this kind of dazzling French star like Marion Cotillard strolling in and just like blending in perfectly.
Yeah, she has a great kind of dramatic sincerity to her that fits in well here. And and she's kind of... This show has room for someone super famous and super established to come in and fit in.
Yes, every season they kind of have...
feel like they're being dismissed. Or
they have one kind of big new name every year, and last year it was John Hamm, and now he's still floating around because Steve Carell was that person in the first 2 seasons. Then he was taken out. John Hamm was slotted in. But then you weirdly have the second tier of very famous faces where people like Will Arnett show up randomly for like 1 or 2 scenes. And like Will Arnett is far too famous to be playing the agent of a client that Billy Crudup is trying to get in his movie, and he meets him at a party, and like it's basically just to throw his face in the trailer for 5 seconds because like Mindy Kaling was in the first 3 seasons as the anchor of a rival network morning show, which is what obviously the original show was meant to be about, that rivalry. And then they end up with Mindy Kaling in that part. Martin Short shows up as like a kind of a canceled actor that Steve Carell's character looks for advice from when he gets canceled. He's like, hey, Martin Short, well, how did you deal with your disgrace? And I mean, speaking of Martin Short, at a certain point, it kind of reminds me of Only Murders in the Building, which is another show that just crams like 100 famous people in every season. And you're like, I guess Meryl Streep's still hanging around. I guess, freaking Logan Lerman is in this now. And it's like, that's kind of what the morning show's like. We're like, oh yeah, they're still here. They're not really making an impact, but it's just very crowded.
Yeah.
The Will Arnett appearance totally took me out. I was like, go home.
No, there's no need to be there.
You are too famous to be playing like a role as small as that. Is he Alex's agent? What is his context
he was
again?
Alex's agent like earlier in the show, but he's literally been in like 3 episodes. And for someone as famous as he is, when he shows up in a scene, there's never any fanfare about it. It's like, oh yeah, Will Arnett's here. He's kind of treated the way that like any of the random people who work on the show are treated. The other person who's in every single episode we haven't mentioned is Mark Duplass, who's really good, I think, as Alex's like confidant producer guy. I'm trying to remember the character's name. He's kind of like the 4th lead of the show. Oh, Charlie Chip Black, and he's the producer.
Chip, of course.
And he's now
who could forget Chip?
Who could forget him? He's given really good performance over the course of the 4 seasons, I think. There's a lot of stuff at the end of season 2 with him and Aniston where he's like, you're a terrible person, but I'm sort of beholden to you for my career, and we're going to work through your problems together, that I found very moving at the time, and kind of like a weird codependent work relationship that they were depicting. But now he's just off doing like detective work into Lead in the Water with Reese Witherspoon, and like him and Reese Witherspoon do not have the on-screen kind of pizzazz chemistry that him and Aniston do.
Good God, no. It's hard to watch.
And then the only other person I haven't mentioned who's in every single episode is Karen Pittman, who plays Mia Jordan, and she's this producer on the show. And the show every season kind of introduces a storyline of her dealing with the fact that as a black woman, she is facing an uphill struggle to like make a foothold in the TV industry. And it's obviously a really interesting and important area that the show is like trying to explore, of like racial inequality and how she's not taken as seriously as her white counterparts. But like, I don't think the people writing on this show are qualified to tell that story as interestingly and nuanced and sensitively as they want to.
Yeah, and it's a bit tricky when you're sending the white characters to space.
Yeah,
and
they send the white characters to space and January 6th, and then she gets her kind of second B storyline.
Yeah, like that goes back to my point at the start where it's like there could be something good here, but going back to that thing of nuance is totally correct, because it's like you have something that you could handle delicately and in an interesting way that speaks to, while you're talking about like a hyper specific situation of working in a news network, working in media, whatever, that somebody might, you can apply it like more broadly, obviously, but they'd rather dick around and make Bradley Aaron Brockovich, Republican Aaron Brockovich. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
know. I would love to hear the 2 actresses' honest conversations with the showrunners every season about what they want to do. And I'd love to know how much, because surely they're being paid $2 million an episode. They're both, I think, exec producer credits. Reese Witherspoon's $1 billion production company, Hello Sunshine, does come up at the end of every episode, I believe. So they're obviously getting input into it. And like, there's no way Reese Witherspoon thinks that this is as good of a role as it was meant to be in 2019. Surely as a very powerful producer, she could like rock up and be like, hey, let's turn this whole thing around. Alex should be in the show way less. I should be in the show way more. Like, they need to flip the dynamic. It just feels like she is not, as we said, she's not giving it her all either as a performer or I think as a creative
Like,
producer.
is she leaving herself open to being written out?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I wonder,
Probably
that's a
not,
really
but-
good question. Can the show survive without her? Or can the show survive without Aniston? Or if one of them leaves, should they just kill the show?
I don't think the show can survive without
No.
Aniston, but I also think they're not. I'm not getting the impression they're leaving it that like Bradley could leave.
Yeah.
No, bearing in mind,
I don't think Reese
season 4, so,
Witherspoon
like, maybe
wants to
not.
turn down $20 million a year
No.
for this. I think they've renewed it for season 5. I would be surprised if it made it past season 5. I think 5 seasons of this show with the budget that it has and how crazy it is a fantastic achievement. I mean, if you look at the next closest show is The Newsroom, which only ran for 3 seasons, and that didn't have the big star
It's
salaries.
a nice round 100 million each for Aniston.
exactly.
And Witherspoon.
Like if
I think
it
they'll
ends
call
up
it a day.
ending with 5 seasons, I think everyone can pat themselves on the back and say, hey, the first Apple show ever was a success. It ran for almost a decade at that point since Apple TV launched. If season 5 comes out in 2027, that's like 8 years. That's a huge success. I think they can wrap things up there with both of the women still hanging around. Because if Reese leaves the show, you're putting Jennifer Aniston and Billy Crudup on a poster and you're going, I don't know, you want to watch this? And
I do.
I do, but I think the majority of people are like,
And it's like, sign
yeah,
me
what's
up.
all that now? I'd rather watch the Mom Died show over there, which
Yeah.
actually has some interesting kind of IP behind it. So, yeah, I think this show will continue to stagger towards its honorable end, and I will be watching and occasionally cheering and jumping for joy. But
Who
largely
knows?
quite
Maybe
confused.
the news will just keep getting more and more interesting, and they'll have to keep making it
Yeah,
as kind of
maybe.
a public service.
True. Yeah. I'd love to know if there's anyone in the entire world who only gets their news from watching the morning show. Like,
2
I
years
don't want
after
to think
that.
about those people because they definitely
there's
exist.
someone.
They 100%
The people who
exist.
would idolize Bradley Jackson in real life are sitting at home in
they've got Facebook now. They're
Kentucky,
fine.
Alabama, wherever, and they're watching Morning Show season 4, and they're going, "What's all this about the Olympics? I didn't know there was an Olympics last year. What's this vaccine?
Now, do they know how to access Apple TV Plus?
Who knows? Maybe there are DVDs posted to their homes. I don't know how people are accessing this stuff these days."
As Bradley showed us, Republicans are people too. So
They
let's
are,
not be,
exactly.
let's not be hard.
With all that said, thank you so much for joining us to discuss the morning show. What is on people's flop culture feeds right now? This episode's coming out on Tuesday coming. So what can people check out right now?
We just did an episode on Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, the movie,
on our own
a 100%
because-
Northern Irish production.
Oh
The
yeah,
entire thing
I
made in
forgot
Northern
that. It's a
Ireland.
while since we recorded it. I love Chris Pine. Had a lot of fun. Unfairly maligned because I think people were afraid to embrace the nerd
Yeah.
culture of it all, and people thought they might not understand it when it's actually just a good
good
heist
fun.
movie. A bit silly, not too in the weeds of it. Have you seen it?
I thought it was good fun. I thought Hugh Grant
Yeah.
was having a great time in it, and the younger
Yeah.
actors in it, Sophia Lillis and Justice Smith, they're always good in those kinds of things.
Yeah, good, clean fun. We've got loads of other bits coming up. My So-Called Life.
Oh, lovely.
The TV series.
Young Jared, young
which-
pre-problematic Jared Leto.
Yeah,
still
I
attractive.
know. I just keep thinking, like, what a waste. Why do people have to be perverts? Why can't they just be talented? But I digress. And lots of other stuff. As I said, we're watching a lot of TV over on the Patreon. If that's kind of more your bag or you're more into good things, we're doing Gilmore Girls, we're doing The OC, we're doing Sex and the City. It's all
Right,
going.
and maybe in
so.
15 years, you'll when it's cool and trendy to do so, you'll go back and do the morning show as a kitschy thing.
Stranger things have
Stranger
happened.
things have happened. Stranger Things coming up soon on the God only knows. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody go check out Flop Culture, check out Fionnuala on social media, and please join us again another time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.